I will first run through the different types of exercises that you might encounter during an assessment center, and then I will also give you some general advice on the assessment centers. Hello everyone, my name is Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to talk about assessment centers, what they are, what you can expect, and how to ace them. To start, what is an assessment center, or AC for short? It is a method that companies use to identify someone's management potential and see their skills in action. It's usually half a day to 2 days long, but most likely it will be only a day long. And it is a day jam-packed with activities and different exercises, so you can really get to know the company, the different candidates, and the people who are interviewing you as well. They will also be able to assess you on different skills and see how you interact in a group or alone in different settings, so you will be able to show your potential and your skills in action for all of the interviewers and the recruiters to see. So, just a bit of background, I have attended 3 different assessment centers so far, all of them really successfully. 2 of them were international assessment centers and 1 was in the UK. So all of these are my experiences on assessment centers and what advice I have for people who might not have attended any assessment centers before. I will first run through the different types of exercises that you might encounter during an assessment center, and then I will also give you some general advice on the assessment centers. So, to start, the first type of exercise that you might encounter in an assessment center is presentation exercises. Now, these presentations can be pre-prepared presentations, or they might ask you to do a presentation on a topic without any preparation. With all 3 of my assessment centers, these presentations were first of all about me. So they would usually give you a prompt. For example, can you introduce yourself to us, and then give you 5 different questions for you to answer in a given time limit. My first tip for you is to really be mindful of that time limit, because they will stop you at the end of that time, or they might deduct points from you. So make sure that you prepare in advance and you practice that speech at least once or twice at home beforehand, so you know that you fit within that time frame, because they are also looking at how you can manage time and how you are able to answer those really broad questions and a lot of different questions in that constrained time limit. So really make sure you practice for that. Make sure you know the structure of your presentation or your speech. My second tip for you is make sure you know what kind of props or different things you can use to aid your presentation. During all of my 3 assessment centers, they usually allowed us to use flip charts, but they didn't allow us to use PowerPoint presentations. So with that in mind, really make sure that you use those aids to the fullest. For example, the flip chart. In my case, what I did was, there were a lot of different pieces of information that I wanted to convey, but that would have been really hard to do during that time limit that they gave me. So I made sure that the flip chart actually complemented what I was saying, gave some extra information that the interviewers might want to know, but I don't want to spend time to actually say those out loud. Obviously, they still have to follow closely to what you're saying, but they might be just supplemental information. So make sure you actually design those with this in mind. And my last tip for these presentation exercises is to make sure you bring a lot of energy and you convince them that you are the perfect candidate for this occasion, because this is 5 minutes or 3 minutes or even 8 minutes that you can talk about yourself and try to convince the interviewers. So make sure that you really give a good first impression. Now, the second type of exercise that you might encounter is the leaderless group discussion. So with the leaderless group discussion, what they're usually giving you is a time frame together with a couple of other people to discuss a topic together. They will give you a sheet of paper with different prompts on it and information of it, and they will be asking the group to either make something together or to discuss something and get to a decision. What I would tell you is definitely think about the goal of the exercise, but really keep in mind that they usually don't care as much about what the group decision is at the end of the exercise, but rather how you interact with other people. So make sure that you don't interrupt people and you listen to everyone. You're a really active listener, and you make sure that no one is excluded from the group. So for example, in my case, there were times when I felt like someone was excluded from the discussion, so I would actively try to involve them by asking their opinions. This is another tip for you. Make sure you know everyone's names, because it is really awkward if you don't know their name and try to call on them like, oh, hey, you on the right there, can you please state your opinion on this topic, please? So instead of that, it would be so much more natural if you just knew their name. Hey, John, what are your thoughts on this? So make sure that you're someone who is involving people in the discussion, not leaving anyone out, not talking over other people, because a lot of people, they might think that being very assertive and being very loud during discussion will be a good point, because then they will seem like a leader, but that is not a true leader. So make sure that you really listen to everyone and involve everyone. And my best tip for this group discussion is make sure someone keeps track of the time, because that was one of my mistakes during my first assessment center, is there was no one who was keeping track of the time. So we really didn't know how well we were progressing, how much time we had left. So try to do this at the beginning of the exercise. Make sure you know who's keeping track of the time, and then they can also be the moderator of the conversation, because they can steer the conversation towards the goal that you're doing. The next one is role playing. So this is an exercise where they will usually tell you that you're in the role of someone in the company, or who might be in a new position in the company, and they will give you a company sheet where they have all of the different people in the company, and they will be saying that this is a meeting between you and someone else, and there is this problem that needs to be solved. Now, what they're trying to assess in this exercise is just that. How you're behaving in a different setting and how you would behave in this role. So make sure you really immerse yourself in the role and pay attention to the information that they give you. So for example, what kind of people are in the company, what other things have happened during this situation beforehand, and make sure that you really immerse yourself and try to think in the position that you would be. The other thing is have a clear goal in mind. So usually these discussions, you will be the one steering them. So make sure you have a goal in mind, what you want to achieve by the end of this conversation or this meeting, and how you want to get there. So usually what I did was not only jot down the information that they give you in the introduction, but also jot down a vague line of how I want to progress in this meeting, to make sure that I actually fit in the amount of time that they can give me, and to get to that goal where I want to be at the end of the meeting. And lastly is the in-tray exercises. Usually what they give you is a situation where you have been on vacation for the past, let's say, 2 weeks, and you're back with this huge amount of tasks that you need to get done. It's Monday morning and there's like 15 more minutes until your first meeting of the day, where you have to present to your boss what you're going to be doing for the rest of the day. It's really important that they usually give you a lot of different tasks and you have to go through them really quickly. They will also give you a time frame. So usually they will give you what time it is now, when the meeting is. So basically the preparation time is that 15 minutes before the meeting. And then they will give you a clear end of the day. So for example, you have to go pick up your daughter at 6 o'clock, or something like you have to go to a sports event at 7 o'clock. So make sure that you keep that in mind, and then you will also get another sheet of paper aside from the task that you have, that will have all the details about the people around you and the people in your group that you can rely on for help. So the way you go through this exercise, and my strategy was always this, and it has always worked. First of all, delegate anything and everything you can delegate. So if someone doesn't need to be done by you specifically, then make sure you delegate it. And there will be some people in the company that you can delegate to. So it could be an assistant or HR or somebody in another group. So make sure that you really pay attention to that sheet of paper that gives you the organizational chart, because that will really help you to be able to delegate. So that's point number 1, delegate everything to other people. And that will dramatically reduce the number of tasks that you have to do. So the second thing that you do is you reschedule. Anything that can be rescheduled that have to be done by you, you reschedule them. So again, you reduce the amount of tasks that have to be done that day. Then after you have gone through all of the relevant tasks that can be rescheduled, all you have remaining are the things that actually need to be done today, or they don't need to be done at all. And then it's much easier for you to prioritize and try to fit them into the day. And also make sure to take some time out in the middle of the day to have lunch. That is really important, and that is one of the questions that people usually forget. I also did that myself. So the assessors would ask, but then how would you have lunch during the day? And I always just said that I would have a sandwich during one of the meetings or when I was doing something else. So make sure you schedule all those things in the day, and I'm pretty sure they will fit during that day at that point. And then moving on to the general advice that I can give you for the assessment centers. First of all, always be early. Get there a bit earlier, because then you will have a bit of time to look around the building and familiarize yourself. And also, the most important thing is to talk to other candidates. At that point, people will usually start arriving, and that is really good for you, because then you can just try to talk to them, see what their strengths are, weaknesses are, that you can use during the group discussion as well. But also just get to know them on a personal basis. So get to know their name, what their background is. And I think that is really good, because you can get some rapport and you can get to know some really cool people that have similar interests to you. So make sure that you get there early to be able to talk to them and to be able to familiarize yourself with the environment. Then my second tip is to have an elevator speech ready. It is really important that you have something around 15 to 30 seconds long as an introduction about yourself, because you will be meeting so many people during the day, not just candidates, but a lot of people from HR and other managers, group leaders. So it's really important that you have something that you can introduce yourself with, make it memorable, make it something that will stick in people's minds, because you will be introducing yourself so many times during that day. And I'm pretty sure that it will be really good for you if you just have something that you can basically say with a bit of variation throughout the day. And my next tip is to hype yourself up before the day and get a good night's rest before. As I said, it's a jam-packed day with activities, so make sure that you have enough energy for the whole day and you really hype yourself up, because it is a very exciting day, but it is also very tiring to perform to such a high level for the whole day. So what I would say is, again, get a good night's sleep, and beforehand, just get something for yourself. Make sure you have enough energy throughout the day. So I was trying to bring myself some candies or granola bars, because I know that those really help me throughout the day to maintain my energy and to be able to perform to the level that I want to. If you're interested in more tips regarding productivity or career tips, make sure you visit my Facebook page. The link is in the description below, because there I will be posting many more tips which are not in video format on productivity, career tips, and I will be hosting some Q&As in the future as well. Make sure you also check out these two videos to get more career tips, and subscribe to see more videos in the future. Make sure you like this video to show your support, and comment below if you have any other questions on career, productivity, and university applications. Bye bye, I'll see you guys in the next video.